the Genentech story has many lessons and principles that are foundational to Kleiner Perkins today and really set them up to be a premier venture capital firm shortly after this investment. So as I mentioned earlier, Kleiner Perkins was a firm built by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. And so Kleiner Perkins hired employees assuming they would eventually start a company and Kleiner Perkins would be their first backer. It was essentially an entrepreneur in residence program, but one where they would still work as venture capitalists when they weren't starting their own company. So everyone they hired were engineers or had a background in starting a company or working for a startup, as we said, because their thesis was, you know, built by entrepreneurs, built by engineers, for entrepreneurs and engineers. And so Kleiner pretty quickly hit big on this thesis in 1974 when one of their partners, Jimmy Trebig, started Tandem within the walls of Kleiner Perkins and delivered the partnership a 100x exit on his company. Shortly after, in 1976, another employee at Kleiner, though this time just an associate, would have a similar path, but interestingly, this path had a different start, as this associate, Bob Swanson, had been fired from Kleiner Perkins before co-founding his company, Genentech. I don't know exactly why he was fired, but as we'll see, he was clearly very bright, and Kleiner Perkins should be very happy they apparently had an amicable exit with him because, again, he started Genentech, which, as we'll see, was huge for them. So Swanson had an idea for a breakout biotechnology product of human insulin developed from recombinant DNA. This was certainly a breakthrough because insulin at the time was extracted and refined from the pancreas of cows and pigs. And so I'm no scientist, but I would certainly prefer the first one. So even though Swanson was fired, lucky for Kleiner Perkins, he couldn't find another job. So he just hung around the Kleiner Perkins office, not on payroll, and just cold called many scientists at research institutions regarding whether they'd pursue this idea with him of, this DNA, this recombinant DNA technology. He received many no's, naturally, but all he needed was one yes. And that yes came from a UCSF researcher, Herbert Boyer. Boyer understood DNA technology well, but Swanson enlightened him on the potential commercial applicability of such a project, leading Boyer to join him in this pursuit. And so when reading this founding story, I was reminded of a quote by former Kleiner Perkins partner, Randy Komisar, where he discusses the importance for founders to engage an associate at a VC firm who cold calls them, even if that associate is not a decision maker. He says, quote, "You have to make them your ally. I think without offending them, you need to let them understand that you quickly need to get a sense of the support he's going to get or she's going to get in her organization. You need to turn this into, how am I going to help you, associate, get the support for this project? I like you. You understand my business. We have good rapport, but we quickly need to get this raised to a level where I understand the commitment of your organization. I'm going to do you the favor. I'm going to go in and sell your support of my idea. Let's figure out how to do that." And so while Swanson technically wasn't an employee of Kleiner Perkins anymore, he still worked at their office and he had relationships at the partners. He was confident that if he could develop this idea thoroughly with a renowned scientist, his former partners would back his company. So therefore, as the quote suggests, it's imperative that you, as a founder, listen to the associates when they cold call you because they could be the first stop on your way to a key decision maker at a VC firm. And so Swanson and Boyer spent the next few weeks developing a thorough business plan to bring to the Kleiner Perkins partnership. They had a thesis on developing this technology, which wouldn't be easy, but would be possible. Also, if they could achieve it, the results would be revolutionary, creating incredible value for Genentech and Kleiner Perkins if they would be investors. And luckily for Genentech, Kleiner Perkins was built on the premise stated by one of its founders, Tom Perkins, that, quote, market risk is inversely proportional to technical risk. Therefore, if you can solve the technical risk, the competition will be minimal. So Kleiner loved to back big, audacious, technically difficult projects because they knew the outcomes could be outstanding. If you were able to mitigate the technical risks, the market risks would be mitigated as well. Therefore, if they could assign again, these are engineers, so they can understand what the entrepreneurs are saying, and they can do the math themselves. They're able to assign some type of probability based on what they know and based on what the entrepreneurs told them. They have contacts that they can reach out to discuss the reasonability, the chances of this firm succeeding. So based on that, if they could assign a 5% chance of this company's technology succeeding, which would accrue, let's say, $100 million in value for Kleiner Perkins, then any investment less than $5 million is a good risk-adjusted investment. So Kleiner Perkins invested in Genentech because they felt this was a big, audacious technical project that, if solved, would generate incredible financial returns. Tom Perkins stated that this technology could create a, quote, microbial Frankenstein, and compared it to being able to play God. Because after all, Genentech was building technology that would manipulate genetic material, creating many new opportunities in drug development and production that no other companies were pursuing. And so, as a result, Kleiner Perkins felt conviction backing a very challenging technical project because, first, Boyer was an exceptional scientist who, with Swanson, brought together a great plan to attract other exceptional scientists to help build what seemed to be an achievable task. And second, the market potential outweighed the technical risk, as Kleiner decided to invest $100,000 into Genentech for 25% of the company. So this meant that Kleiner Perkins invested slightly over 1% of their $8.4 million fund, the total fund that they were investing out of, into a company that the partners felt had an incredible 100x return on investment potential if the Genentech team could build the product they pitched. And so therefore, by only putting about 1% of the fund into the company, they made that risk-adjusted investment based on the technical risk compared to the potential financial outcomes. And it turns out that the 1% chance of success was a little too conservative because Genentech was very successful shortly after Kleiner's initial investment in 1976. As Genentech reached new technical milestones, they raised more money from other investors, with Kleiner continuing to participate. And Kleiner ultimately invested somewhere around $500,000 total into Genentech to maintain their initial 25% stake in the company, which shortly after Genentech's IPO in 1980 was worth around $100 million, yielding Kleiner Perkins a 200x on this investment and a 276 IRR, making this a fantastic risk-adjusted investment on an immense technical problem with immense market potential. So the model of creating a venue of entrepreneurial-minded, engineer background employees to pursue breakthrough technologies, whether through investing or building their own company, set Kleiner Perkins up for immediate success thanks to Genentech, among others such as Tandem, as their first fund returned around 42x its invested capital. So, incredible start, much like we talked about with Benchmark in last episode. But perhaps the greatest return on Kleiner Perkins' investments model was attracting John Doerr, the legendary VC regarded almost without a doubt as the greatest venture capitalist of all time and essentially a homing beacon for fantastic entrepreneurs based on his high intelligence, incredible drive to succeed, and belief in big ideas. As we'll see, he is a big reason for Kleiner's success in pursuing and investing in the next two companies we're about to discuss now.